Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Yelp webinar, Let's Talk About Yelp. It's hosted by Corey Dane of Yelp, who will also be joined by a special guest bringing some local business perspective. That's Pam Kolovos from Arnold Electric. We'll see her during Q&A. Welcome back, Corey. This is Jennifer Clark. I'm a marketing manager at Surefire Social, and along with me is Sashi Belmkonda, Surefire Social's CMO, and running the webinar from his computer is Stephen Eastlack. We know many of you already have questions about your Yelp business page, and we decided to organize today's webinar to answer your questions. So I want to underscore that this is an interactive webinar. If you have questions or comments for today's speakers, we want to hear from you. We've got an excellent program, which Corey Dane is kicking off. So when you send over questions during the presentation, please just enter them into the chat box in your webinar control panel. The team and I will be here behind the scenes to answer your questions, and we'll pass them on to the speakers for Q&A. If you want to test that out, feel free to tell us where you're joining us from today. Just write that into the chat box. We'd love to know. All right. Without further ado, Corey.
All right. Let's dive in. Thank you so much. Thank you, Surefire, for going ahead and inviting me to join you today. My name is Corey Dane, and I am on Yelp's business outreach team. So I work with business owners all over North America with managers, marketing directors, social media mavens, trying to help them understand the platform by first understanding their needs and their goals for their locally run business. Then we talk about tools and tips to help them achieve some of those goals using the community that Yelp is building both online and offline in communities all throughout the world. So I'll preface this presentation by saying it's very slide heavy. Don't fret, though. I think the plan is to send you a version of this deck after today's webinar. So don't feel the need to furiously take notes. You can just sort of listen and follow along and trust that you will be able to see these slides again. And then the other thing I want to point out is nothing that I speak about today is tied to sales in any way. So all of the information that I'm providing, all of the resources and tips that I'm suggesting based on the category of business you're in, it's all completely free. And I think it's important to note that going in, because while there are paid options when it comes to Yelp as well, today we're only going to be talking about the free ways to increase your reputation online and in your community. So we've got a pretty healthy agenda here today. You can see that it ends with some Q&A. So as was discussed already, please feel free to use the chat function in GoToWebinar to shoot over some questions, and we'll try to take as many of those as possible. Those questions can be anything about my presentation today, something else that maybe I didn't get to, or something specific as it relates to your place of business. So I thought before we dive in too deep, it would be good to just take a real quick look at the current state of search when it comes to online review platforms, and note that 82% of consumers consult online reviews before making a spending decision, which is quite a lot of people. As it relates to your category of business, in a recent study done by Software Advice, they found that 74% of consumers surveyed turned to Yelp more than any other review site when searching for businesses in the home category. So you can sort of see there on the right what that looks like when it's broken out between cleaning, electrical, plumbing, pest control, lawn care. I imagine some of you might be in those types of categories of businesses. We probably have some home remodelers as well. But pretty exciting stat for us to get back that says, you know, Yelp, when it comes to search, sort of trumps those other sites like Angie's List or the Better Business Bureau, excuse me. When we did our own independent study, we found that 82% of consumers come to Yelp because they intend to buy a product or hire someone to perform a service. And that's really important to know, because I think there's a misconception that that people come to Yelp just to sort of waste time or do a search without really any intent of actually spending money at local businesses. But to know that this high of a percentage of consumers are actually coming to Yelp to look to make an informed decision is pretty impactful. And then to take that a step further, to note that nearly 90% make a purchase within 1 week is pretty huge. So these folks are coming to the site because they are trying to research this spending decision, a decision that the majority of which are going to make 90% within a given week. So I think it's also important before we dive in any deeper to talk about what sets Yelp aside. So you're probably familiar with a number of other review platforms. There are many in the space, and there were many in the space when Jeremy and Russ, who are animated, illustrated here, began Yelp in 2004. But what was unique about when Yelp came onto the scene, and I think what's still unique about the platform, is this idea of connecting people to great local businesses in the most useful and interesting ways possible. And for us, that's twofold. That means building out a platform, a site that connects people together online, that allows people to find friends of common interests and thoughts and philosophies, befriend those folks on the internet, start to follow their reviews, turn to them for personal recommendations. And then offline, it means us going into 32 international markets, hiring somebody on the ground there locally, and utilizing that person to help grow community. And there really isn't any other platform that has folks, community managers we call them, captaining communities all across the world, connecting with people, getting them out at events, trying to guide them to the best places to spend their hard-earned money. Here in North America, we have 86 of those folks spread across the US and Canada, and I'm willing to bet near you there's a community manager or a community ambassador for Yelp, which is sort of like a part-time community manager who's working to showcase the best businesses in that local area across a number of different categories on the site. So when it comes to Yelp and some really exciting metrics, I thought I could share a little bit about our traffic. So there are a number of people accessing the site. This mobile stat here in the middle of this slide is a pretty powerful one, we feel. 86 million monthly unique visitors come to Yelp from a mobile device. On top of that, an additional 75 million monthly visitors are coming to Yelp from the desktop. So I think we'll start to see, and already have started to see, a real shift there where the desktop traffic might be slowing down a little bit as people get more mobile, as technology becomes wearable and is now in your watch. But really exciting to see that overall, when we add the two together, the traffic continues to increase month over month and quarter over quarter. Just recently, we celebrated 100 million reviews since inception, which was pretty exciting for us to sort of hit that marker just about 11 years after bursting onto the scene. As far as what that traffic is doing on Yelp, I think it's important to note before we sort of talk about capturing that community, how they're actually interacting with local businesses. So right now, about 56% of all searches for local businesses come from a mobile device. Monthly, on average, 440,000 consumers map directions to a local business every single month. Got 70% there of the content that gets committed to the site, so that's going to be reviews, that's going to be photos, is coming from mobile, which is pretty huge, so a lot of people very active with the consumer mobile app. And then on average monthly, 523,000 people are calling local businesses through Yelp to get some more information, maybe to request a quote, book an appointment, things along those lines. Now when it comes to your category of business, home services, a lot of exciting stats there. So on average, just over 14,000 calls are placed from the mobile app to a home services business, and that is every day. And then to the right of that, just over 46,000 visits to somebody's website in the home and local services category originate from a Yelp business page. So what that means is, yeah.
So I'm sure you're going to talk to the audience about this, but some of this information is available to the business owners through their Yelp page, correct? Am I jumping ahead?
Jumping ahead just a little bit, yeah, some of it is. So we'll talk about the activity feed in your business owner's account and where you can find this information as it relates specifically to your business. This is a little bit more wide lens before we kind of get that narrow. I thought it would just be interesting to share that, again, every day on Yelp, a number of people are placing calls to your businesses and also clicking from Yelp over to your website to learn a little bit more.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Good question. Here is a quick category breakdown. You can see home and local services up on the top there, and that number, that percentage, is steadily increasing. So important to note as we dig deeper here that Yelp is more than, as it says here, bodacious burgers. So it's not just a restaurant review site. It actually began because our CEO, Jeremy Stoppelman, was looking for a doctor. And I think it's exciting to note that home and local services is right up there, just a tiny bit behind restaurants. And that shopping actually is the category that is the most heavily reviewed. And that primarily is because there are so many different child categories, we would call them, underneath that umbrella of shopping and a lot of retail outlets. But to note that, 11% of the content that is searched for and reviewed is in your category is pretty impactful. Here are a couple of quick stats about our community. So I think there was a thought at one time that Yelpers were young and uneducated, maybe didn't really know what they were saying, but it's really neat for us to see that quarter after quarter, these folks are mature as far as age and education go. Nearly 80% of them have a college degree, and many within that 80% have gone on to do some higher learning, and that 65% earn $60K annually. An important stat to point out that these folks have discretionary income. So it's not a young MySpace or Friendster generation, but this is a mature crowd of individuals who are educated with money to spend, looking for the best places online to spend that money. And then something we sometimes hear is that, folks coming to the site are doing so simply to rant, and they open up accounts, they write one-star reviews with the intent to rip apart a business. And while there is a small percentage of folks out there who, for some reason, enjoy sitting down at a keyboard and, getting, super negative in the form of their review, it's actually quite the opposite when we look at the entirety of the content posted on Yelp. So nearly 80% of Yelp reviews are 3 stars or higher. And doing just some quick math here, you can see that there are more 5-star reviews than 1, 2, 3-star reviews combined. And I think it's important to note that because it's important to remember that as folks are coming to the site and as folks are wanting to learn about the best places to spend their money, they're wanting to read really positive reviews. They're wanting to read content that helps advance the local climate, the business owner climate. So again, as I started, I said that there's definitely that small percentage of folks who quite possibly are opening up accounts to write things that are maybe a little bit more negative in nature. Just hold that stat in your mind, that 80%, because there's a greater amount of positive content committed to the site. When it comes to that content, when it comes to both the positive and the negative reviews, we sometimes get questions about quality control. So I thought I would spend just a quick minute on this slide and talk about our recommendation software. Some of you might be familiar with it. Some of you may have heard murmurs or some myths about how it operates. But quite simply, the recommendation software is automated software that runs daily behind the scenes with the intent to find the most trustworthy and reliable content possible. So it's scanning a number of different data points in reviews and also looking at a reviewer's profile, trying to recommend the best content possible. Is it a perfect system? Yep.
Just wanted to remind everybody in the audience that you'll be taking questions at the end, especially those who joined a little bit after we started. Please post it on the chat box that you can see in the GoToMeeting screen, because this is great information, Corey. And for example, your stat about reviews, that was really eye-opening, at least for me, because it seems like there are more positive reviews about businesses than negative ones.
Yeah, I think when we share that with folks, it's a little surprising. Again, I think there's just a misconception out there that when it comes to online reviews, people enjoy ranting about places. They hide behind a screen, a keyboard, some anonymity to it, and they really just sort of rip people apart. And again, while that might be the case, it's such a small percentage. On the whole, again, folks want to celebrate the things that make their city so great, and that's the place to get their hair cut, the person to come and redo their kitchen, and the person to install the new tub when they want to do a bathroom makeover. So yeah, great addition there. Please continue to use the question function to go ahead and ask any questions about anything I'm speaking about or how it relates to your business, and certainly questions about the recommendation software as well. But again, quite simply, it's completely automated. It's a system that's being worked on constantly to try to make it more fair for both consumers and business owners alike. And one thing I'll say about the recommendation software, when I started at Yelp, we didn't actually have the version that we have today. We had what was called a review filter. And that filter just filtered out reviews, took them completely off of a business's page. And it was through business owners, actually, through people who are out there every single day who rely on word of mouth, that helped us realize that regardless of whether or not Yelp thinks that that is a legitimate review, it's probably best to leave that content on a business's page and let consumers decide. And we made that big shift a couple of years ago. So now you can go to your Yelp business listing, which we'll talk about in just a little bit here. You can scroll all the way down. You can click on a link that says not recommended reviews. You can watch a video about the recommendation software process, and you can actually see all of the reviews that are currently not recommended. Again, why wouldn't a review be recommended? Based on some sort of data point within that review or from that reviewer makes it so that software thinks it's not yet a trustworthy or a reliable review. It could be recommended someday, but for now it lives in that not recommended review space, a space that consumers will oftentimes use to go ahead and make an informed decision. Wanted to talk just really briefly about Yelp and advertising. So again, I said everything on today's webinar, all the tips and resources I'll share are completely free. And it's important to note that there's no correlation between Yelp ads and the reviews that we display and your rating on the site. So quite simply, there is no amount of money that you can pay us to alter your reviews or your rating. We hear it a lot of times in the field. I have to give Yelp X amount of dollars for them to show my positive reviews. It's completely not the case at all. They just don't go hand in hand like that. And there are a couple of reasons why. The biggest is we are a consumer-driven site. So the fact that we have all that traffic that we have 85 million monthly unique visitors via mobile, another 78 from desktop, is because people trust the content that we are serving up to them. Once we start to take money from business owners and allow them to re-rank and prioritize certain reviews and buy a star rating, we're doing a disservice to the people that the site is in place for. Kind of coupled with that, and the second reason that there's no correlation is when we talk to business owners about improving their reputation, and when we talk about an opportunity to purchase advertising, we want to make sure that you have eyeballs on your Yelp listing. We want to drive people to your place of business. So once you start to monkey around with things, and once consumers start to hear that business owners can buy a reputation, they're just going to start leaving the site in droves, and we no longer have the power of that community to send to your business to increase your revenue. So it just doesn't really make sense, which is why we don't do it. And one thing I always think about, I've been at Yelp for about 6 years now, I think, if this was the case, if you could, pay somebody to go ahead and change your reviews, I feel like everybody would be doing that. I feel like our salespeople would have a much easier time talking to business owners about the paid options. So just another example of why there's just no correlation there, and there's no truth to this myth that is sort of circling about out there. So with all that said, the current state of review platforms, a deep dive into some of our metrics, I'd like to go into your Yelp Business Owner account and show you the things that I think in your category of business are going to move the needle most. This is one of 3 sections I have before we open it back up for some Q&A. And again, just sort of like the beginning where I started, large picture, wide lens. We're going to kind of start big, taking a look at your business owner's account, and then we're going to sort of narrow into a couple of the things that I think will be extremely useful for you, the things that people in the home and local services category ask me about all the time, and that's getting more reviews, and then reputation management, responding to reviews. But before that, wide lens, let's take a bird's eye look here at your business owner's account. So hopefully everybody who's called in today knows that you have a back-end version of your account that you can manage for free at biz.yelp.com. If you want to go ahead and raise your hand if you've done that, I can't see you, but if we were in a room together and I was standing before you, I would ask you all to raise your hands if you've already done this. If you haven't, that's going to be the first thing that you want to do today. You're going to want to go to biz.yelp.com, type in your business name in that business name field, type in your address in the near field, and then go ahead and click on search to go ahead and find and claim that business. It's a completely automated process. It takes about 2 minutes. You'll get a phone call at your place of business, so you want to make sure you're at the phone or somebody else is at the phone, or if you use your mobile device because you've got a smaller staff and you're out and about doing jobs, keep your phone handy. It'll ask you to just enter in a couple of numbers on your phone, and 20 seconds later, you will be in your business owner's account. You will have unlocked it. The reason I've got this phone on this slide here is because we have a new free app for business owners. So if you're not someone who can sit down at your desk to take on some of the things I'm going to talk about in the moment, if you're not comfortable on a desktop computer, you can actually perform a lot of the functions I'm going to speak about in a little bit here from a mobile device. So you can go to the Apple iTunes store, or you can go to the Google Android store, and you can download the app just by searching Yelp for Business Owners. Completely free app, a ton of tools within the app to help you manage your page, and these things play nicely. So the app and then the desktop version of biz.yelp.com will save changes so you can perform things in whatever place is most comfortable to you. Why go ahead and go through those steps? So why download the app and start to use your free tools? Well, because in a study from a couple years ago, the Boston Consulting Group found that on average, business owners who claim their free Yelp business page and start to use their free tools stand to make $8,000 in average annual incremental revenue. Now, the catch there is you actually have to use the free tools. So if you haven't claimed your business page at biz.yelp.com yet, you can't just go ahead and do that today and then do nothing else and hope to see $8,000 more this calendar year. you actually have to utilize some of the free tools. You have to be a little bit more responsive and proactive when it comes to your activity, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. It's not a static process. It really does require you investing a little bit of time. Folks usually at this point say, I don't have any time, I'm running a business, I'm doing jobs, when am I going to do this? And I tell folks that it's about half an hour up front to get your page super spiffed up, looking good with the recommendations I'm going to make here in a moment. And then after that, it's maybe 20 minutes every other week based on the size of your business and your reputation now and where you want your reputation to be. So 30 minutes this month to go ahead and just get things all shored up and looking good, and then maybe 20 minutes every other week is a nice cadence for most business owners across multiple categories. So this is what it looks like when you have claimed a Yelp business page and logged in. Hopefully this looks very familiar to many of you. On the left-hand side is the menu that allows you to toggle back and forth between all of the tools, all of the resources that are available to you to help you grow your reputation and to help you put your best foot forward online. Because I wanted to make sure that we had enough time for some Q&A and not overwhelm you with too much information, I broke out all of those tools into a pretty short, comprehensive list of the things that I think for you in your category is going to move the needle most. And that's these four things: activity, business information, photos, and then a new feature that maybe some of you saw within the last couple of weeks called Request a Quote. So first up is activity. Quite simply, activity is the number of people who are coming to your Yelp business page and what they are doing, how they're interacting with your Yelp business page. So the first component of that is user views, and that's the very first thing you'll see when you log in to biz.yelp.com. Now, why is this important? Why am I suggesting you kind of keep this top of mind? Well, because when you look at the top and you toggle back and forth between a 30-day view, a 12-month view, a 24-month view, you can start to look for similarities, parallels, themes. And by looking at the number of people that are coming to your Yelp business page, you can start to make decisions about marketing. You could start to make decisions about what months bring you the most business. You could start to think about when you might want to add more staff to keep up with the demands of your business, and when you'll have more leads and potentially more revenue to be able to pay for that staff. So I think the activity feed is just really rich in terms of giving you unique insights about the number of people that are coming to your Yelp business page. Then it was brought up earlier when we were talking about the number of phone calls and clicks to a website. We'll show you all of that information in your business owner's account as it relates to your business. We'll also show you that information in the mobile app as well. So again, if you can't be glued to the desktop, but you'd like to see how Yelpers are interacting with your page, you can download the free app and you can start to see how consumers are interacting with your business. When it comes to how much information we share with you, quite simply, that's based on the amount of information a consumer has told us we can share with you. So in some cases, it might quite simply say a Yelp user in their 30s from Evanston, as it does here at the very top. Whereas that second screenshot, Rick has allowed us to share his profile, which is in blue, hyperlinked, so you can click on Rick and learn a little bit more about Rick, the businesses he patronizes in town, glean some information from his profile. He's allowed us to share his age as well as his location, and we can start to see how people are interacting with your page. Are they clicking over to your website? Are they clicking to call you? Are they checking into your business or viewing a map of your business? All really rich insights that sort of show the type of person that is finding you on Yelp and then performing some sort of action with you. We'll take all of those activities and we'll total them up over the course of a 30-day period, and we'll break those out for you in terms of leads. So at Yelp, we feel like if somebody is calling your business, it's probably a pretty hot lead. They probably need a little bit more information, but are probably likely going to spend money with you, again, within a week, per that stat that I shared at the beginning of the webinar. We'll show you the number of clicks to your map to get directions. We'll show you the number of check-ins. We'll show you the number of people that have bookmarked your business as well. Bookmark is another indicator of somebody who potentially wants to do business with you. And if from your activity feed you're looking at who has bookmarked your business, you can reach out to those folks and say, hey, it looks like you stumbled across my business. You know, I specialize in kitchen tiling. Are you thinking about rehabbing a kitchen soon? What questions can I answer? And you can use your activity feed to get really proactive about leveraging and tapping into this community. Next up, business information. So this stuff is pretty simple, so I'm going to glance over it. And for most of you who are pretty savvy, I imagine you've probably spent some time shoring this up and making sure this all looks good. But when it comes to business information, I'm so shocked in certain categories that things are a little bit incomplete. So things like categories, for example. You can have up to 3 categories. So really describe what it is you do. So you can get deeper than contractor or home remodeler and really tell people by using subcategories what you specialize in. Adding up to 3 categories is just going to make it so people can find you a lot better and a lot faster. And when folks come to me and say, I'm just not really sure what types of categories to add, I always tell them to do a search for competitors in the area to see what their competitors are doing. Now, sometimes your competitors may only have 1 category. They might not be great examples. But if your competitors also list painter or something else as a subcategory, go ahead and seal that and you know, look to them to kind of be your guide here and try to get 3. Try to get 3 added. Make sure your address, your phone, and your website are listed as well. Make sure all that information is correct. And make sure that your business hours are correct as well. And decide, for you, is that going to be hours of service, hours of the day that you perform jobs, or is it going to be hours when somebody can call and on the other end someone will answer to be able to answer questions of that consumer? You can also type in specialties and history. And that is a great place for people who aren't thrilled with their reviews to spend a fair amount of time. So when someone comes to me and says, you know, I've got a 2-star rating and I really want much better reviews, I need better content on my page, the first thing I do is I look at their specialties and history section and make sure they're taking advantage of that, because that is your place for real estate to essentially tell people who you are, what you do, what sets you aside from somebody else. And don't simply copy and paste information over from a website. People can read that information on your website. But type something new, something different, something fresh, and know that the keywords, the buzzwords that you use in that specialties and history section are going to show up when people do an organic search on Yelp. So when describing yourself, describing what sets you aside, makes you unique, when talking about your history, years in business, when talking about the products that you use, fabrications, installations, finishes, all of that information is going to be combed when a user does a search with the intent to guide them to the best local business possible. And these last 2 here are great options as well for you to deeper connect with the community of people looking to spend money, and probably the most underused. So Meet the Owner is a chance for you to say, hey, this is who I am, this is who you're going to be doing business with. I totally understand and hear from a lot of folks who just don't want to put their face out there. My feeling is, you're in it to win it. You went into business for a reason. Let folks know why. Type up just 3 lines. Everyone can come up with 3 sentences that describe themselves. And then throw up a photo as well. So again, going back to one of my earlier statements at the beginning of the webinar, when Jeremy and Russ set out to build Yelp, they did so with the intent of connecting real people. And for us, that means people using real names and real photos. That's the priority that consumers give when it comes to reviews. And I think as a business owner or a social media manager, a marketer, the person who's sort of in charge of this reputation, it's great to go ahead and type up a quick couple of lines of copy in the form of a bio and add your photo. And then last up on this slide is business recommendations. So you can add up to 5 recommendations for other businesses, and that's really great if you have a business where maybe there is 2 different sort of subsets of the brand. So I was speaking with a designer in Tucson who has an interior design sort of section of his company, and then the install section. And they've got different names, they've got different review pages, and different consumers look to them for different reasons. He's able to put one business URL on the one page and then the other on the other page, just to sort of keep things in the same family. Restaurants that are part of a restaurant group will often do this. They'll list 5 other restaurants within the group to kind of keep things within the same family. If an option like that doesn't work for you, maybe it's a local hardware store that you want to direct people to pick up products. And maybe you go to that hardware store and say, hey man, I've thrown you on my Yelp list as a business recommendation. Would you toss me on your page as someone who performs great work and has a solid reputation in town? Just a great way to kind of keep the community growing and going by guiding people to the best places in your area. Next up here, just some quick information about photos. So again, for that person who doesn't have the content that they want, so maybe you've got some negative reviews or maybe you don't have any reviews at all, photos are a great way for you to tell a richer, deeper story on Yelp. So we find that on average, consumers spend about 2.5 times more time on a business page with photos than one without. And it makes sense, especially in a category like this, because people want to see what the work is potentially going to look like. So if you can upload some photos, which again, it's completely free to do, you can upload as many as you want, and sort of give people the before and after, it just gives them increased confidence that you are the right person to go with. I definitely suggest captioning photos as well. So I work with a lot of auto mechanics who will post photos of things like under the hood that I don't really understand, but when they caption that photo and describe the flush that they performed or how they saved someone a bunch of money by installing this new type of tubing, captioning and describing the photo in rich detail makes all the difference in the world. So definitely upload as many as you are comfortable with and then caption them too so folks know what they're looking at. A couple other guidelines here. While logos are definitely important, your storefront, if you have a brick and mortar, is important. Your service vehicle, if that's important to kind of create some brand recognition, definitely get those up there, but then go beyond that. Show people what it would actually be like to hire you by showing work that's been done before and afters, showing them staff that's going to be coming out. There's a moving company I work with, and they post photos of all of their delivery drivers because there's, I think, a misconception out there that delivery drivers just don't really care, and it's your stuff, not theirs, and they're young, punky kids in high school, working summer jobs. So he has said we're going to post photos of everyone at the moving company, and actually in the caption section, type up a quick couple of lines about them. So you also have an opportunity to flag inappropriate photos as well. So if someone has posted a photo for you that doesn't speak to your business, you can flag that for our support team. And then I always let people know that you can update them when necessary. So again, if you do this, half an hour in April that I'm sort of talking about, and you upload 100 photos, if in a year those photos just don't really speak to sort of where you are, where the business is, it's A-okay to remove those and refresh. that's definitely going to be a little bit more key for someone in like food services, restaurants, nightlife, things along those lines where menus are changing. You might find that the photos you upload can and should stay there for a long time. Then last up in this section is the request a quote feature. So again, this was just recently turned on for all businesses in North America who work with quotes. And this is essentially what it looks like. So when searching for a plumber in San Francisco, you can sort of see here what the quote response time looks like. Someone can click on request a quote, and a consumer can describe the service that they are looking to have performed, and we will shoot that right over to your mobile device if you have the app and push notifications, or to your inbox on Yelp in your business owner's account if you don't yet have the app. So that's why I suggest all of you today go ahead and download that app, because we'll push that quote right to you. And for those of you thinking, well, I can get this information from my website, or all of my pricing is on my website, consumers, while our demographic is mature and intelligent and has money to spend, going back to one of those earlier slides, they don't oftentimes realize that that information lives somewhere else. So we want to send you that business, and if we can take them from your Yelp page to something transactional by asking you to quote their job, we would much rather that than totally lose out on that business for you by having to have them sort of click around. So we've got some great stats we're going to release shortly about the increase in business that this has had for business owners, but it's been pretty incredible for everyone we've spoken to. If you are smaller, if you can't keep up with demand, you can definitely turn this off. So you can definitely opt out of this. If you want to say no to potential business, that's certainly okay. And again, no cost here for us to connect consumers to you in this way. Two more sections before I open it up for Q&A. I'll breeze through quickly just the two things that I think are most talked about within your category, the first being getting more reviews. So in your business owner's account, you can see on the very left-hand side there at the very bottom, there's a review badges tab. If you're handy with HTML code, or if you've got someone who helps you build out your website, have them drag over some code to your website, to newsletters, to your email signature, anywhere where you can put a review badge with the intent to get people to your Yelp page and writing about you. So when it comes to getting more reviews, we definitely discourage outwardly asking for them. We never want business owners to solicit reviews, because what happens is historically business owners talk to the people that had a good to great experience. Things start to roll in, they look a little spammy to consumers, consumers start flagging them. It's just not really a great process. Instead, leave a trail of breadcrumbs by popping this badge in a newsletter, as I said, or on your website. And you are sure to increase the amount of content being contributed to your page when you're actually guiding people to your Yelp business page. We also have some buttons at this URL at the top, yelp.com/brand. Great way, again, to get folks to your Yelp business page, let folks know that you spent the time to go ahead and build that out, make it looking good. Put these buttons wherever you see fit. Also from this page, you can request a Find Us on Yelp sticker. So yelp.com/brand, about the middle of that page, you can request a Find Us on Yelp sticker. You can request a couple. If you put in the note section, I have 5 service vehicles. We can send you out 5 of those for free, and you can slap those in windows at your brick and mortar or on a service vehicle. And a couple other options real quick here. So certainly printing and posting great reviews is a way to signal the community to write one. So nothing teaches people than showing them the behavior that you want them to replicate. So dig around and find your 3, 4, 5-star reviews, print those out. If you have an office, a waiting area, frame those. let folks see them. That's great for two reasons. Number one, it showcases your great reputation on Yelp, and it also says to folks, you know, we're willing to print out great feedback. So someone could potentially see that and think, oh, I wonder if I go write a 5-star review, if they'll, you know, print that out and frame that, stick that in a little reception area. You can share great reviews on social, and what's awesome about that is you can do so from your business owner's account, and when you do, a lot of times what will happen is someone in your Facebook network or someone in your Twitter network will click on that, click over to your Yelp listing, realizing that they didn't yet leave some feedback for you. So again, you're sort of showing the behavior that you'd like people to recreate. Tell people that you're actually on Yelp. And I think there's a difference between saying, you know, go home and write me a 5-star review, and, you know, I am really reliant on great word of mouth. I'd love to hear your feedback. I was talking to a couple of property owners earlier in the week. I said, go to the hardware store and get some keys made and tie a little note and say the key to our success is great word of mouth. We'd love to hear your positive feedback about your apartment experience. So you can get creative too, and certainly, you know, in the category of business that you are in, you can get, you know, very creative, invest, you know, a little bit, and probably see a really nice return on a campaign meant to sort of drive great reviews to your page. Add those buttons and badges wherever possible. And then transactional products would be things like Yelp deals or gift certificates. You can set those up in your business owner's account. And the reason I mentioned considering those is because when somebody purchases a Yelp deal, which is just a discounted product or service, when somebody purchases a gift certificate for somebody else to use with you, we will actually remind them that they have made that purchase and prompt them for some feedback about their experience. So just two ways to sort of take that off of you and allow us at Yelp to go ahead and ask folks to provide feedback. Last up here, some quick information about responding to reviews. So you, once you've claimed your business page and are in your business owner's account, have the opportunity to actually respond either publicly or privately. Over on the right, you can see the button to flag reviews. If you think something is for the wrong business or something looks a little bit fishy, you can send that to our support team. There's also the button that looks like an arrow to share reviews on social networks. And then down here along the bottom, we've got the public comment and private message buttons. So, you know, really quick discussion about public versus private. So I suggest, and business owners have told me, that a two-pronged approach when dealing with reviews and responding to them is best. So people seem to have extreme luck when responding publicly to all reviews, both positive and negative, noting that sometimes that response isn't solely for the reviewer, but it's for the entire community of people that are landing on your Yelp business page. So if it's a 5-star review, a public comment could quite simply be an acknowledgement that that person took the time to share feedback. If it's a negative review, it could be an acknowledgement that things didn't necessarily go the way that they were supposed to go. But public comments seem to be really useful in terms of building confidence, buying power within consumers, building rapport, and really just sort of explaining to the community how you deal with feedback. So public comments, to boil it all down, great for both positive and negative reviews. I suggest that you respond publicly to all of the feedback that is written about you. Flip side, private messaging is great for addressing negative reviews one-on-one. So when you need information about something that didn't go right, when you're looking to send correspondence back and forth, private messaging is going to be the best for that because you're taking that conversation offline and it's now between two people, it's not public in front of the entire community. Just to sum all that up, if you're looking at a 5-star review or a 1-star review, a quick public comment goes a long way. Then if it's a 1-star review, take that extra step and respond privately. No real value from responding privately to a negative, a positive review. So last up here, I'll introduce you to Wade Lombard real quick. So Wade is a mover in Austin, Texas. He recently expanded to Houston, and Wade is a really rad guy. I need to bring him onto some webinars and speaking engagements with me. He just has a very unique idea about responding to reviews. And he says in his thick Texas accent that when somebody writes him a 1-star review, it feels like someone has doused him in gasoline and lit him on fire. So he does what we were all probably taught in grade school: stop, drop, and roll. So for him, stopping and just not responding is the best thing he can do, he has said. Waiting 24 hours, sleeping on it, can make all of the difference in his response. So we know that if you've got the Business Owners app, you get that push notification, you're looking at a 1- or a 2-star review, you want to write something back right away. But if you wait 24 hours, if you give it some time, your approach to it the next day will be a lot better than in that heated moment. Next up, drop anything that sounds argumentative. So we just talked about public comments. When you post something publicly, it lives on. You can definitely go back and edit it if you wanted to, but you put it out there, it's really out there for the world to see. So take the high road, try to get rid of anything that might sound defensive, and give it to somebody to read. So if that is a friend or someone else at the business, or maybe it's someone at Surefire, just somebody who can actually look over that content for you and safely say, yes, this is a well-crafted response. You can move forward and post this. And then at the end of the day, roll with it. So know that you can't please 100% of consumers 100% of the time. We all have bad days, and that's A-okay. The goal here with managing your online reputation, responding to reviews, is to mend anything that was in that review that presents valid concern that you want to counteract and you want to make better. So, negative reviews have a positive side. It shows that there's a wide range of experiences. And again, when you're responding publicly to some of that negativity, that's great because it shows people how you take feedback and how you overcome challenges when things don't go according to plan. So no issues here with having negative 1-, 2-star reviews. And again, just knowing that everyone has a bad day and rolling with it as much as possible, knowing you did all you could, is just a really good way to think about it and sort of wrap up that review response process. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Surefire, and then we'll take some questions here in just a minute.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much, Corey. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're about to launch a poll, and anyone who'd like an analysis of their local online search visibility can, click on the poll to say they want a local visibility checkup. You can request a copy of the presentation here, or you can let us know that you want both. So we've got the poll here, and I'm going to start asking some of the questions we've gotten today, and if you have any others, please just send them over to us in the chat. All right. So
just wanted to see, did Pam make it on?
You know what?
Yes, Corey, I'm on. Yeah, I'm on.
Hey, Pam.
How are you?
Welcome. Good, good.
Okay,
We'll
Pam.
jump forward. We'll jump forward a slide here in just a second, so you can all meet Pam and understand just what a powerhouse she is in Chicago. An incredible electrician, and how she's been able to manage a really solid online reputation.
All right. So our first Q&A question, can I edit a response once it's posted?
Yes, easy one to start off with. You can. You'll just go into Business Owner's account and click Edit Comment.
All right, sounds easy enough. Another question that we had is, should we directly ask for reviews on Yelp?
Definitely don't want to outwardly ask for them, again, because what's going to happen, as I explained, is you're probably not going to ask folks who have had a negative opinion, so you're just going to sort of target the folks that have a positive opinion about you. Those are going to scroll in, and it's going to seem a little bit spammy to consumers. You can see the snapshot here, though, of Arnold Electric in Chicago, where Pam serves as an office manager, administrator, wears a ton of different hats, does sales, does marketing. So I'm curious, Pam, if I can ask you, 5 stars across the board, 31 reviews. Have you guys proactively done anything to get so many solid reviews? What has that process been like?
Well, one of the things that we had always heard from people about contractors was that nobody ever answered the phone. There was nobody ever there, and if they did, they never called them back. And so when I came on with Jack, that was one of the things that I addressed right away, because all of the calls were going to him on his cell, and so he's up in the air on some pole doing some work, and people are calling. And I said, why don't we take the business number, which he had but very rarely used, and forward it to a cell that I could carry with me, so that we had the ability for someone to answer the calls and take down information and get back to clients. For us, that was a huge turning point. It was a process that was handled remotely. We didn't need to physically have someone in the office. I could just carry the phone with me and respond to calls, and it turned the business around significantly, almost immediately.
Nice. So I think, the learning there, evaluate maybe what's working, what isn't, and as you kind of take a look at the things that can be tweaked, you might start to see an increase in feedback and get consumers excited about saying things like, there's always somebody there. And I feel like it's probably usually you, Pam, but there's always somebody to answer the phone, to take my call, to answer my question. So yeah, that's a great little pivot.
Right. Well, for small businesses, it's a hard thing. It's hard to have someone in the office all the time, but there are a lot of people out there who do what I do, who can manage your phones for you and not be in your office where you may not have space, but manage to support your business.
Great. What other questions are there out there?
All right. Another question that we got is, does a person need to have 5 reviews to be shown in the recommended area they serve?
Let me see if I understand that. Does a person have to have 5 reviews for their review to be recommended on Yelp?
That's my understanding. Michael, if you have any clarifications or if you want to change that question around. Yes. His answer is yes. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. So no secret sauce there. So, I wish I could say a person has to have a real photo and use their real name and have written 5 reviews, and one of them has to be a restaurant and one a salon and one an auto mechanic and one a plumber. Really, again, the recommendation software is looking at a number of different data points. I will say, though, in a general sense, that, yeah, that software definitely wants to see somebody who's written a wide breadth of content. So you'll find that very often a lot of not recommended reviews are from people that have only written 1 or 2 reviews. And some business owners feel comfortable saying, hey, Yelp uses this not recommended review software to automatically decide which reviews are trustworthy and reliable. They're trying to build a community of people who share feedback about a lot of different businesses. If you're interested in getting more involved, feel free to, pound out some more reviews, but just know it's not me not recommending your review. That's kind of on them. And again, some business owners feel comfortable having a conversation like that. Some just wait for consumers to get more active and to upload a real photo and to change their name from Anonymous A to Joan B, and that's fine as well.
All right. We've got actually another question from Michael. He'd like to know why some reviews count towards your Yelp grade and others do not, and how is your business grade calculated?
So star rating is quite simply based on all of your recommended reviews. And if you're actually in your business owner's account and you hover over star rating, it gives an explanation of that. And the short answer there is a review is not recommended for a reason. So quite simply, we're not going to include that in your overall star rating. When it comes to your star rating, how is that determined? Certainly a number of different factors. Obviously, the biggest is the number of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 star reviews averaged out, weighted over time.
All right, and along the same lines, question, what do you do if a non-customer reviews your business?
So somebody who writes you a review who did not use your services?
Exactly.
So I would definitely flag that for the support team. I would definitely say, I think this person might be mistaken. Try to give as many details as possible. You have to understand that they are, looking at the review and they're looking at your flagging of that review and trying to decide, where the truth is there in the middle. So the more information you can provide, the better. And messaging folks as well is A-okay. So writing somebody on Yelp and saying, hey, I actually don't remember you ever doing business with me, adding that as a public comment and saying, I'm going to follow up with you privately so I can get some information about date of service or invoice number or things along those lines to actually prove that you did use me.
That's very good advice. Another question we had come in is about wording. What kind of wording do you suggest to use when you nudge customers to go ahead and write a review for your business? Do you have any suggestions there?
Good question. So again, I think the more creative, the better. We have built kind of a unique, quirky crowd. So that key idea that I shared with the property owners earlier this week seemed to sort of resonate with folks. I think anytime you are saying you have a presence on Yelp, and to find you on Yelp, you are A-okay. You're in the clear and you're far away from any sort of sticky situation where it sounds a little like you're soliciting reviews. I think you want to avoid things like, go write me a 5-star review. But I know business owners that say, I would love to read your positive feedback online. If there was something negative about your experience, here's my email or here's my mobile phone. Call me and let's discuss privately. Just sort of a sneaky little workaround there that some folks have employed to sort of get the content that they want. Pam, I know you guys are so darn busy over there. I don't know how much, if anything, you do to remind people to review you, but any suggestions for telling people after jobs to write reviews? Do you guys do anything currently? Does it filter in organically? Uh-oh. Maybe we lost Pam?
No, I'm here. I think I lost part of it. Could you tell me that again? I'm sorry.
Maybe. No worries, no worries. You're probably on mute. I was just saying, when it comes to reviews, do you actively seek them out? Do they filter in organically? How have you all, tried to get people after jobs to write reviews for you?
We don't actively, pursue it. Most often people will say to us, I read a great review, and we'll say, we'll thank them, and then we'll say, if you feel like it, please, don't hesitate to leave something on Yelp. Some of them will, some of them won't. I think it just depends on the circumstance, but we don't want to make them feel like they have to do it. We sort of leave it as an option.
Yeah, fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
The one thing that we do is that when people call us on our answering machine, because believe it or not, there are some calls I don't have an opportunity to answer, we remind them that, we give them our website information, and we also ask them to check our reviews on Yelp if they have any questions. And so if somebody has called before they have gone to Yelp, we remind them that they might want to check there as well.
I really like that. I'm definitely going to steal that. I didn't know you were doing that. So yeah, when it's after hours and somebody gets ye old voicemail, to be able to say you've caught us outside of working hours. Why don't you read a little bit more about it on Yelp, and we'll get back to you tomorrow when we're in the office. That's great.
Yeah.
Any other questions rolling in?
Yeah, we had another question about how reviews get ranked in your directory or your profile. The specific wording is, why do some of the 5-star reviews get buried and 1-star reviews get posted to the top?
It's hard to tell if that's a question about the recommendation software, which I've answered, or if it's a question about how reviews are sorted on Yelp.
I think it's about the sorting.
Okay, fair. So yeah, I think, again, it's important to keep in mind that Yelp is working to guide people to the best businesses possible. That's how businesses are served up in an organic search on Yelp. Then when somebody clicks on a business, again, we have a responsibility to give consumers the best information possible. So a lot of times that could be an older review that is prioritized before a newer review. It could be a 2-star review that appears before a 5-star review. But what I hear from consumers when they search is the very first thing they do is they click date. They want to see what the experience is like now. It's not as important to them to read reviews from a year ago. They want to read reviews from the past couple of months. From there, a lot of times consumers will click on the Elite tab, and those folks are generally huge champions for local business. They're extremely positive, and people in communities will oftentimes give those consumers a little bit more credit, a little bit more worth. When it comes to the exact sorting of why reviews appear the way they do on Yelp, a number of different factors go into that. It could be the number of times a review was marked useful or funny or cool or saved, bookmarked, whether or not there's a photo attached to that review, if that review is from an elite, how recent the review is, how descriptive the review is. Is it a one-liner, or is it a couple paragraphs that describes a rich experience? So a number of different factors that go into how things are sorted. But again, more often than not, what we hear from consumers is that the very first thing they do is they click on date to find the most recent content possible.
Okay. Another question from Joe Wilson. We're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with an office on one side of this metroplex, but want to work 50 miles away on the other side of this big urban area. Can we choose the borders of our service area on our map?
So you can't go in and draw your own service area. So for those of you unfamiliar with that term, Yelp allows you to create a service area in which you serve, but you can't, like go in there with a pen and actually sort of draw where that area is. What you can do is you can type in all of the zip codes. And as long as all of the zip codes in which you serve are within 100 miles of your base, your home zip code, we'll draw a weird, crazy-looking shape to include everything that you've told us that's within that zip code range. And you can have up to 5 codes in addition to your home base. And if you don't want to work with zip codes, you can also type in city names as well. And you can type in 5 city names. And again, we'll draw a funky looking shape on the map to include everything that you've told us you serve.
All right. Another question that we had, why don't you make people identify themselves instead of hiding behind what may be a fake name or a photo or something else?
Can you say the first part again?
Yeah, and I can also kind of summarize the question. The question is about why people who are reviewers don't always have to identify themselves. They can hide behind whatever they want, a fake name or photo. It's about the vetting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's probably an entirely different webinar. That's like called The Internet 2016. People want to hide, right? There are internet trolls who are on Google Places and YouTube and even Facebook who you know, aren't using real photos and aren't using real names. I think what's exciting that we get to report is when it comes to our core community, they are. So on average, the folks that are using Yelp, more of them have a real photo and a real name and a robust profile. They have friends. We're building, again, that community that I was alluding to at the beginning. But for some, for whatever reason, they don't care to use a real photo or a real name. For most consumers, those reviews just aren't really going to carry a lot of weight. And they're going to look, you know, right past those, and they're going to go to the reviews of folks that are using a real photo and a real name.
So we've got one last question. This one's from Samuel. Google has been revamping its Google Reviews platform. How has Yelp responded to Google's changes?
Good question. Yeah, so, you know, here's my take. And I don't mean this to come off sarcastic or snooty, but Google, since I've been at Yelp, so 6 years, has tried to reiterate and do something different every single year. It was Google Local, Google Plus, Google Local Plus, Google Pages, Google My City. I actually don't even know what it's called today. I think what we are doing as far as innovating and moving forward is continuing to find ways to grow communities of people. People with money looking for great places to spend it, and then great businesses who count on that money locally to keep the doors open and keep the lights on. So how do we do that? We do that with things like our community management program, which Google doesn't have. We do that with things like Request a Quote, which Facebook just announced recently they're going to be rolling out. We do that with people. We do that with products, again, to connect folks on a deeper level than Google does. And my feeling is, you know, while some consumers might go to Google to perform a search for a roofer or a bath installer, they're usually going to be served up a Yelp listing in one of the top 3 listings, and they're going to click over to a Yelp page to read a little bit more. So when people say to me, you know, don't people Google an electrician first? I say, yeah, that might be the case. They're going to Google electrician in Chicago, but they're going to see Arnold Electric in the first spot on Google search because our content is so good, and they're going to click right over to Yelp to read more, to give a phone call, to get Pam, to book an electrician, to have somebody come out to help them, you know, in an emergency setting or whatever the case may be. So I think that's twofold for us. I mean, as we continue to keep an eye on them and watch the changes that they make, I think we feel good knowing that we've got this community program that we've had since day one working to connect people, and that our content is far richer, far deeper, and we're just going to continue to grow that over time.
Fantastic. Well, that's our last question for today. So I wanted to thank both you and Pam for the excellent presentation. It's been very interesting, and we appreciate you answering all of these questions, and everyone who has been asking questions throughout the webinar. It's been a very engaged audience today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Thanks, Pam, for joining me to give some of your perspectives. And hopefully we were able to get you all on a great path to managing your online reputation and capturing rather some of our core community and turning those folks into people spending money with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Corey.
If anyone has additional questions related to directories or online reviews or the webinar, please feel free to send us an email at marketing@surefiresocial.com. And we love to hear your feedback. We love to hear what webinar topics you want to hear about in the future. So please, by all means, shoot us an email. All right, everybody, have a good evening.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.